You and I are going wine shopping together. You can find a sensational bottle of wine for criminally low prices. Let's get started exploring and tasting new wines together. Get your bags packed because we're headed to Spain to drink and learn all about Albariño. Albariño in Spain most famously grows in a northwestern region called the Rías Baixas, which sits on the Atlantic coast. Because of this proximity to the ocean, this area sees a lot of rainfall, about 3 times more than the rest of the country, hence its nickname, Green Spain. It sits just north of the Portuguese wine region Vinho Verde, which has a very similar climate and also makes white wines from the Albariño grape, although here they call it Albariño. This area of Portugal is thought to be the most likely origin for the Albariño grape, although there have been theories that the grape was brought to the Iberian Peninsula around the 12th century by Cluny monks from the Burgundy region of France. Today you can find Albariños from all over the world, most notably from the US states of California, Oregon, and Washington, and the countries of Chile, Uruguay, and Argentina. Australia was producing quite a bit of Albariño. Unfortunately, though, in 2009, DNA testing discovered that this wasn't in fact Albariño, but the grape Sauvignon. Bummer. Albariño vines are typically trained up high into pergolas above your head because although these grapes have very thick skins, they are pretty susceptible to rot and mildew. So by lifting them high off the ground, you get them away from all that moisture and you also give them really lovely airflow. Some of the oldest vines in the world are Albariño vines, with some being up to 300 years old. This is Raimat Albariño, which I grabbed for $8.99 at Trader Joe's. And when I say grabbed, I quite literally mean I saw, ooh, Albariño, and grabbed it. I love this grape. I love the potential that it has to make great wines. I don't drink it enough, so I just nabbed it right off the shelf, incorrectly assuming that this was going to be from the Rías Baixas. This isn't from northwestern Spain, it's on the other side of the country, in northeastern Spain, in the Catalonian region of Costers del Segre. These regions really could not be much more different from each other. As opposed to having all that heavy rainfall that you have in the Rías Baixas because of that proximity to the coast, you have a very dry region in Costers del Segre because of its proximity to the Pyrenees mountain range. It's a lot warmer here as well. In fact, the whole area where the vineyards are planted now used to be desert, and drought is a pretty big concern when you're growing grapes in this area. So because of all that, these wines are probably going to be a little riper, a little fuller than the styles that you're going to find coming from the Rías Baixas. Raimat is a sustainable producer, has been for over 100 years, but they got their official certification in 2008. They're also using organic grapes, if these are factors that are important to you when you're picking out your bottle of wine. I cannot suggest enough that you do not over-chill this wine. When I first opened it, I had chilled it down a little too much, and it kind of just neutered the palate on this. It had this really lovely nose, beautiful aromas, but when I went in for a sip, it was very neutral, very muted. I find that most people typically drink their white wines a little too cold and drink their red wines a little too warm. Just suggestions, but of course at the end of the day, drink your wine how you want to drink it. But I think you'll find this wine is a little more interesting if it's a little bit warmer. There is still a lovely note on this that is very typical of a Rías Baixas Albariño, and that is solidity. And that's still present on this Albariño, and it's one of the things I love about Albariño so much, that little kiss of sea spray that I love in so many other wines. I probably mentioned too much, but I love it on an Albariño. I think it should be there. I think it's very typical of the grape. And I love to find it on this wine. Beautiful stone fruit notes as well. And by that I mean some yellow peach, some ripe apricot as well. And then Albariño is also known for its floral notes, that it's a very aromatic variety. This is not incredibly aromatic, but has these really lovely, pretty white flowers, cherry blossoms almost as well. There's a nice orange citrus zest on this as well. Other citrus on here as well, lime, absolutely. A little bit of lemon as well, all very fresh, zesty, bright. But then you have that nice fleshy, the stone fruit, a little bit of orchard fruit as well. Very nice ripe apple. There's an herbaceousness as well, that this really lovely green quality about Albariño. Again, very typical of the grape. Gonna find a lot of these notes in the glass of Rías Baixas as well. It's really not too different, but I would say maybe slightly riper. Let's check it out on the palate. Medium plus to high acidity, lovely silky texture. And that texture is coming all from the grape. A lot of producers prize the freshness of Albariño, so they're not gonna use oak on it. Or if a producer does decide to use oak, they're not going to be using any kind of new oak that's going to slap all these other notes on there. They want to keep this very pure, very fresh. Stainless steel is the popular choice when making Albariño. So that texture is, again, probably coming from the ripeness of that fruit. This is moderate in alcohol. What do we got? 12%. Veering onto the lower side of alcohol. I love it. Keeps everything fresh and in balance. You wouldn't want this to be too heavy, too oily, too alcohol-driven. Just in a more delicate white wine like this, it just burns down your esophagus, and that's no fun. Just take a shot of tequila. There's just so many lovely, luscious notes on here that you just won't get if it's too cold. All those herbaceous notes, kind of snap peas, grass, and then saline as well, a little bit of white pepper, flowers, and the peaches. I would say they're more ripe on the nose than on the palate, to be honest, but absolutely present there. This is another one of those white wines that, like I mentioned before, just has an incredible range of possibility when it comes to pairing with food. This is going to be great with lighter poultry dishes, seafood dishes, shellfish like oysters, shrimp especially. This would be great with pasta dishes and risottos. I also think that this particular wine would be delightful with Asian cuisine, specifically Thai, Vietnamese, things with a little heat because that alcohol level's a little lower and it has that acidity and brightness to play around with all those flavors and the heat. This is going to be a very veggie, food-friendly wine as well. If you're vegetarian, vegan, this is a great go-to wine for you if you're especially focusing on veggies, great with tofu. This is a very cheese-friendly wine as well. With milder cheeses, maybe slightly creamier cheeses like burrata, great with feta cheese because feta has that little kiss of salinity just like this. So good with feta cheese in a dish. I don't know why I just became obsessed with that. So the possibilities really with Albariño are endless. And like I mentioned before, it's a grape that I don't drink enough, so I was so excited that I didn't even read the label to share it with you. This is a bottle that I would gladly bring to the beach with me on a hot day with some ceviche and chips maybe, and just wash it all down with this, the salinity from the chips, and that bright citrus and the seafood in the ceviche, just absolutely perfect. I'd have to hide it at the beach though. So if you have a beach where you're allowed to just whip out a bottle like that, good for you, let me know where you're at. But that's a beautiful format for this bottle. So let me know your thoughts about Albariño. If you get a chance to grab this bottle, please do, just because it's coming from a region that you wouldn't typically expect in Spain. You see so much Albariño from the Rías Baixas. You really don't see much coming out of Costeras del Segre. So grab a bottle of this if you want to compare it to Rías Baixas. Grab a bottle of each. It's all very affordable. Another great bonus to Albariño. So you can do a fun little face-off between the two. I think they're both winners at the end of the day. This is such a great grape. I wish you the best of luck in your Albariño adventures. And until we open another bottle of wine together, keep exploring and trying new wines. Cheers, friends.